Hello there, welcome to Plus Talk, where we get right to it. We're all about keeping it real. We're about living life to the fullest without shame, without stigma, no holds barred. We're turning positive into a plus, so let's get started. I'm thrilled to be joined by two fantastic guests today. I've got Hailie Sahar, we know you for Pose, of course, and I've got fantastic HIV activist Tiommi Luckett. Today we're talking about fixing what's broken, and I figure who better than you two fabulous women to talk about something that is not just broken, it is off the rails. So let's start. HIV, Black, trans, Latina, trans women. What are we getting wrong from this side of the table? What do we need to do to get it back on the rails?
Thank you. Being an HIV activist, what I can tell you is that we've been saying this for the longest time, right? Trans women are always categorized as men who have sex with men. And so when we're trying to find resources for ourselves, we have to go to these male-led agencies, right? And so sometimes that means that we have to deny who we are in order to receive services. That's not right. It's not fair. And me and myself and other members of the trans community actually talked to funders and had this think tank, and we were like, look, if you want trans women living with HIV who are actually doing the work to actually continue to do the work, then you have to provide resources for them. And what does that look like? That looks like taking away several requirements that funders often give, such as the executive director needs to have like a PhD or a bachelor's degree. That's not the experience of a lot of trans women, right?
Or of a lot of people.
Or of a lot of people, to be fair.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so me being college educated, that's just never something that I wanted for myself, to be an executive director, right? I like to be on the ground. I like to be with the people. I am one of the people. And so one of the things that we have to do is stop this trans women are looked at as men who have sex with men, and that's not me. I don't identify as a male. I myself haven't identified as male for over 21 years. I'm 42 years old now, and I transitioned at 21. And so for half my life, I've been me. All of my life I've been me, but for the last 21 years, I was able to walk in that truth. And so no organization, no entity is going to take away my identity by telling me that this is the only way that I can receive services.
Hailie, are we finally seeing a shift in the paradigm with shows like Pose that you're on? And finally, trans actors and actresses are starting to get the attention that they deserve, just like any other actor. Are we getting there? And are shows like Pose, do you think, are they helping with this change? What more can be done?
Just to piggyback off what you were saying, I think that, well, to answer you as well, yes, we are opening the door to the conversations, and I think that's the start. But are we there yet? Absolutely not. Do we need to get there soon? Yes. But just to piggyback off what you were saying, even me myself, I transitioned as a teenager, medically and socially, and not having the system structured in a way where it was catering to people of trans experience. I was left in the dark, not wanting to learn about these things because I was afraid of being ridiculed or treated or harassed. And so even myself, I'm still learning about the stigmas of HIV. And so I think that that's a clear sign that we need to have programs that are structured around trans men and women or gender non-binary people, making them feel more comfortable to learn. But shows like Pose, I think, are opening doorways and allowing us to have conversations like this. And I think that's only the start.
Question for you about stigma within the community. You know, I as a white gay man have come up against probably more stigma and hate being HIV positive from gay men. Is there a stigma within the trans community about HIV? Does it exist?
Of course it does. Being a person of the community and actually being in this field, right? I'm around the trans community, I'm around people in the HIV community all the time. And so when we're talking about the trans community specifically, yes, there's all types of stigma. There's stigma related to sex work. There's stigma that's related to sex work living with a diagnosis, right? And so, I mean, it can be like really, really ugly. It is really hard, extremely ugly. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything.
Give us an example.
how some of the trans community will actually go and tell tell clients that this person is living with
When
HIV.
you say clients, you're talking about sex workers?
Sex workers.
Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, that they're living with HIV. Like, I've been in those conversations, and it's just hurtful, right? Because that's not something that I'm going to do to anybody else, regardless.
Right.
I didn't contract HIV for myself. I contracted it from a sexual partner. And so the thing that I took to heart was that I made a decision to lay with this person without a condom, right? And so what happened is a result of my actions as well as his.
Well, it takes two to tango.
It does
doesn't
take two.
You said something once that has stuck with me. That the world has to stop seeing, especially trans people of color, trans women of color, as sex working drug addicts. Okay. How do we get away from that? Because I think that is a big part of the stigma as well. That, well, that's what they do. And if you're going to be a sex worker, you kind of deserve it.
I can answer that very simply. It's by remembering your humanity. We are human, all of us. You're no different from me. You're no different from me. I say this example in all of my interviews. I always refer to us as children, because we were all children at one point. Where along the way did we get the right to judge and label people and say, well, you're this way, so you're that, or you're this way, you're that? You were a child, I was a child, you were a child. We're someone's children. I'm a human just like you. So it's not right for me to cast judgment upon you. It's not right for you to do the same thing to me. So seeing each other as just that, people with pulse, with hearts, with dreams, and not putting these stigmas on each other.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah, some statistics here. 4% of transgender women have HIV. 44% of trans black women have HIV. 26% of Latinas, 7% of white women. Why are there these huge disparities?
Just look at the economic insecurity that black trans women and Latina trans women face, right? Trans Latinas, they come with issues with immigration, with being undocumented. Black trans women, it's our community. Like, all of this hate starts in our community, right? And so when we look at violence, we look at the proximity of violence. And people want to talk about, like, black on black violence. Well, I'm not in a white neighborhood, Right. I'm not in a Latina neighborhood, right? Yeah. So the violence happens in proximity to me. So actually, I'm scared to, like, be in my own neighborhood, knowing that I am trans. And you even said it, like, oh my God, you're fierce. And I get that a lot, where there isn't a specific look to being trans. Trans is not a monolith.
Right. Yeah.
And so what that means, it goes
like
deeper than
straight or gay.
Exactly.
Isn't a monolith.
It isn't a monolith. And
Right.
so sex work is not the only story that we need to tell when we're talking about trans women and living with HIV. That's not my experience. Yes. I can't speak to that, right? I can speak to working for an organization, doing grassroots organizing, doing electoral organizing with Positive Women's Network USA. I can speak to that. I can speak to being the only trans person in my community for years and thinking that something was wrong with me, because there was no one else around, right? To even, like, go to. There was no role model. That came later in life. Actually, 6 years ago, I met another trans person, and then I realized, oh my God, I'm normal. Yeah. Like, there's a whole community of people, right? So it's a lot. It is a lot that happens within the community, and that stuff happens to us. We do it to each other.
Well, that's sort of what I wanted to touch on a little bit more, as I said, that sort of stigma within the community. But how do you guys then, as within a community, sort of say, hey, we've got to lay that down, because if we can't help ourselves, how are we going to help anyone else, as famous RuPaul likes to say, and love each other. So what do you do to combat that within your own community?
I think we have to just understand, first of all, we've been a marginalized group, and I think there's a lot of pain in the community, and you hurt the people closest to you because there's no one else to lash out to. A lot of people are in pain and no one's listening. So if you're the closest thing to me, I'm going to attack you because I'm hurting. And so it's about understanding that we're all in this together and leaning on each other more. And that's why I was excited to come and do this together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's our first time meeting.
I have to touch you. I'm
sorry.
Listen, you've had this one. Keep it together, Tiommi.
Try.
A few more minutes.
Okay, I really try.
We have to continue to lean on each other and recondition our way of thinking. Like I said, it's so much pain in the community for obvious reasons, but understanding that there are avenues and activists and shows like Pose, and there is this initiation of starting the conversation happening. So we can now begin to recondition how we see our lifestyles.
Let me ask about healthcare for a second, because presumably if you're trans and you're deciding to transition, you have to have access to healthcare.
Exactly.
So what is it like then when HIV comes into the mix? Because I've heard reports that a lot of, the reasons the rates are on the rise in the trans community and other is because no access to the healthcare system.
Yeah.
But if you're transitioning, then you're getting healthcare from somewhere. What happens with the HIV conversation?
Okay, I can speak to that. Coming to terms with being a person living with HIV before even identifying as trans, right?
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I didn't know what was going on with me, and so it took like going to the doctor and acknowledging the fact that I'm living with HIV and getting into treatment, and his staff, it's like, oh my God, you're fierce. Like, are you on hormones? And I'm like, no. They're like, why? I said, can't afford it, right? And so one thing that's different with my story is that when I went to an HIV doctor, he just so happened to be the foremost expert in Arkansas on transition-related healthcare. And so probably shouldn't say this, but hey, they coded it a certain way, so I was able to start getting on hormones and actually start taking care of my transition-related care. That's not the case for everybody. Arkansas, where I'm from, actually expanded Medicaid, so we have the Affordable Care Act there in Arkansas, but if I go north, south, east, or west, I'm without insurance, right? Especially if I'm depending on like the marketplace. But being someone who has a career, I have insurance, comprehensive health care for the first time, right? And so I'm not worried about HIV, I'm not worried about transition-related care. And like I said, trans is not a monolith. Not all of us want surgeries, and so that doesn't define my womanhood. But there are so many members of the community who have no access to health care.
So what do we do then?
We do what we are doing now.
Yes.
We voice the fact that our community is struggling simply to survive, to live another day. And when they don't have access, then we get those stories of, oh, we lost another trans girl. We lost another trans woman. How did we lose her? Because she had to resort to one of the things that Pose talked about in one of the episodes that featured Angelica Ross, right? The pumping. That does happen.
Yeah.
It seriously happens,
Yes.
And they're not medical professionals. I can't, sometimes I don't trust what the doctors are telling me. So I
Right.
definitely can't trust someone to put some type of substance in my body just because I need for the outside to be like I picture in my mind.
And so that people see you as a woman.
As a woman.
And lastly, because we're already out of time, what would both of you say to that young trans person who might be watching this right now on their smartphone, a million questions, I don't fit in, and the gay white guy, it's all good for him because he's a man of privilege and can have health insurance. I don't have that. What's your message to that person?
To that person, I want them to understand that what they're going through is valid, right? First of all, what you're going through is valid. Your experience is yours, and that you do have a community that you can lean on. It just may take a little time to get actually to that community, like it did for me. But here I am, here I am 7 years later, and I'm sitting beside Hailie.
Hailie, what's your message?
I would say, on the same lines, I am you. I am you, and I was you. And I'm here, so the possibilities are endless. Though it feels as though there is nowhere to go, though it feels as though there is no blueprint to follow, there is one now. So stay in there, believe in yourself, love yourself, and reach out, because there are multitudes of people that are doing the work so that you have an easier road. And we're out here fighting for the cause. So stay in there.
Well, and I'll tell you, thank you from all of us at Plus Talk, and that's exactly why we created Plus Talk, so that we can have these conversations. So every color of the rainbow, every flavor of the candy store can sit around this table and have these conversations.
Right.
So, Hailie Sahar, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming in. Tiommi Luckett, thank you, and
You're
you're
so
welcome.
very
I've made your
welcome.
dreams come true. If you want any more information on anything we've talked about on today's Plus Talk episode, you can follow us across social media platforms. We are at Plus Life Media, or visit at pluslifemedia.com. That is going to do it for this conversation. As always, I throw away the cards. We're going to have a little bit more of a chat, and that will be uploaded at a later time. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.